At the beginning of the year, I found myself in an artistic limbo. In 2025, I explored different styles, took up different tiny challenges, searching for new creative ways of expressing myself and my life philosophy in art journals. But as it usually happens, a rapid flow was followed by a break. This break doesn't mean that I stopped creating, not at all, I continued, but instead of expanding and accelerating my practice, I slowed down and simplified in order to find a sense of belonging to myself again. In this video, I will share with you what I've been creating lately in my art journals. I will show you the pages and tell about the stories, inspirations, and insights behind these pages. And hopefully you will find this video helpful or inspiring in any way. And maybe you are also someone who finds yourself disconnected from who you are and you need to have a safe space for slow and simple creativity, and in this case this video is for you. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Anna and I started this channel to share art journaling tips and inspirations and also how I build my personal art practice for self-exploration. All the art videos that I present on this channel are made by me without any assistance of artificial intelligence tools. It's a human-to-human respectful sharing only. So, apart from two tiny art journals that I've DIY'd and shared in two of the previous videos on this channel, I created art in these art journals. This one is a finished sketchbook that I used to explore a specific art journaling idea. There is a video on this channel where I talk briefly about this journal and I share the first pages, so now it's done completely. I have finished it. And you know, I'm going to start a new journal exactly like this with the same idea, and I called it 1 and 1 plus words. The concept is super simple. On the days when you don't feel like creating something big and intricate, you go to a little journal where you can draw or paint an object that you interact with today, something that you see in front of you, then find, cut or tear and glue a piece of paper, and if you feel like it, add some words describing what you feel, see or think at the moment. And that's it, nothing complicated, just a way to be present in a very observant and creative way. I skipped a whole month creating in the sketchbook, so I didn't make anything here in January, and I started the sketchbook in September 25 and finished it in February 26. And on one day, I created 3 entries in a row, and it was just the day when I felt the special need to feel grounded and connected to myself, and the very simple line drawing and very limited color palette helped with that a lot. Adding text here has a very therapeutic effect too. I usually follow the silhouettes of drawn and collaged objects, and somehow it feels safer to express myself this way. Also, now that I'm flipping through it, I like how these snippets of life became messages to myself. Let me know in the comments if you want me to make a dedicated video about this concept of art journaling and to talk in more detail about it, and maybe you want me to show you how I will be starting a new art journal with the same concept. I already have a sketchbook that my husband gifted me, but I haven't even unpacked it, haven't opened it, so I can make you part of this experience. So if you want it, please let me know. Most of my art journal entries during the slowdown time are collages. Collage is and has always been my main medium, and in the times of feeling not that much motivated, it is always my #1 recipe for creative uplift. It holds a lot of surprise and allows to experiment with shapes and meanings behind them. While I adopted new ways of collaging using my own painted papers, I realized how much I missed incorporating magazines and using different quirky juxtapositions and altering shapes and finding new interpretations of familiar objects. For example, in this entry, I initially experimented with different ink lines and dots, but then decided to cover everything up with collage, and it was the best decision. I used scraps from my previous collages, trimmed them a little bit, found this face in a magazine and made him look quirky by adding another person's eye. And the body was cut in a freehand way. These days I'm not using any preliminary marks almost all the time. Well, I did when I created an artwork for a group exhibition, but for art journaling, nope. The spontaneity and freedom of the process are more important than perfect lines. This collage was immediately followed by this one. I created them on the same day, and I usually find that once you create just one art journal entry, the momentum is born immediately, and I find it super exciting to use it right away. So this collage has the same aesthetics, same palette, whatever. And throughout my slowdown phase, I continued using the tinmancy technique, just incorporating random phrases. And I talked about the tinmancy thing in the video where I share with you my ink art journal. Briefly, I have a tin filled with cut-out words and phrases that I blindly pick when I want to add a little bit of text to my art journal entries and don't want to write anything myself. It's a very easy, surprising, and satisfying technique to use that I recommend to every art journaler out there. A more spontaneous and liberating art journaling concept that I've been advocating for on this channel is still here, still present. I refuse to follow just one chosen style of making art, and I think now I've become even more open to new techniques and things to try. For example, during this slowdown phase, I tried a new way of documenting my experiences using how do you call it, like a module grid structure, I'm not sure, but it looks like a newspaper or a magazine spread. The spread is about my visit to Matica Srpska gallery here in Novi Sad, Serbia, where I live at the moment. I used the free brochure and the actual ticket for collage elements and added 3 photos that I've taken there. I printed them using a mini printer. I traced the gallery building using this transparent paper and turned it into an interactive element. The black background is gouache. I intentionally didn't use ruler to draw the grid. It's not even and wobbly, and it adds a cartoonish note maybe, but I like it. I created this spread outside any project or tiny personal challenge. It was just a fun experiment for me to try a new way of documenting my life experience, and I even took notes how I did that and what I took into account, how I came up with this whole thing in order not to forget it. Another thing that I tried purely out of interest and without having any expectations about aesthetics or following a certain style, my distinct style or someone else's, was about working with texts and words. I love words. I love using them inside the context or outside, allowing the meaning of the word expand beyond the limits of a certain situation. So I created this without any idea in mind, without any big meaning, and it was so much fun. Here I cut the headlines from a Serbian newspaper so that the letters are turned into something unknown and absolutely foreign. It's a very curious technique, and I think I will experiment with it further on. And here I used the text as part of the character's face. No deep meanings here, it was just a play with shapes and colors. Not every art journal page has to be significant, and this sort of creative leisure feels very light and fun. But alongside with simplicity, I utilized a certain complexity as well. For example, through shapes and textures, and also I tried to process and depict more complex ideas through collages. For example, like the awe that one might feel upon realizing that the universe is alive. Here I used black gouache painted background and collage elements from magazines. Or here I wanted to talk about the horrifying takeover of authentic human values. I used acrylic painted background, collage from magazines and different scraps. There's also exterior dimension here. The initial picture in the magazine was a person standing by some machine, so I combined the body and the machine as the head and decided to still feature the empty cutout as a metaphor. Yet there was nowhere to put this thing without messing up the composition, so I decided to attach it with the spring and to make it sort of interactive, because why not? Beginning to work on these two collages, I didn't have any initial idea. I just picked different textures and collage elements and I arranged them on the page. And then as I worked on them, it suddenly clicked that this is exactly that I wanted to say, and I just let my hands speak and everything happened. Making an art journal a more tactile experience is so satisfying, and I got inspired to add embroidery to my collages by a recent textile art exhibition that I visited here in Novi Sad, and I loved it so much. Again, no preliminary mark making here, I just experimented and somehow everything was brought up together in a balanced way, color-wise in particular. I used embroidery floss from my stash, regular cotton and metallic, painted papers, watercolor here and diluted gouache here, paper tape, Tinmancy phrase, a scrap from vintage book, and this eye fragment is from a magazine. I finally overcome my greediness and started using my precious pictures from vintage encyclopedias that I've brought all the way from the Republic of Georgia. These are fragments from books that I bought in a vintage bookstore. They were too thick and heavy to carry them into another country, so I just selected the best photos and I was hesitant to waste them. But then I asked myself, is an art journaling session ever a waste of time, materials, or money? And the answer was no. Every time making an art journal page gives me so much more than I initially put into it. And if I'm being greedy with materials, I consciously block the potential joy and deep satisfaction and the feeling of meaningfulness that is brought to me after I finish an art journal entry and look at it, at me and my life represented on the page. This collage is one of my favorites that I've created lately. It feels very calm and tender, and it wouldn't be created if I was greedy to use this beautiful flower from my precious collection of vintage pictures. In February, I gave an interview to a Romanian online publication, and I will link it down below, where I talked about being a YouTuber, about some of my life philosophies and hobbies, and I was asked to pick one hobby that I cannot live without, and I named art journaling. Not just art, not just journaling, but art journaling, because I find it to be an utterly transformative personal practice that brings peace of mind, expands inner freedom, and helps to know yourself better and get back that very precious feeling of belonging to yourself. I hope that you found this video inspiring or supportive in any way. Please let me know in the comments. Your feedback means a lot, and feel free to share your experiences with art journaling lately. Maybe you are eyeing the opportunity of starting an art journal, or you are an avid art journaler and maybe you got interested in some other techniques and materials. So let's share and connect. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, dear fellow creatives. I'm wishing you to have enough inspiration, time, and resources to spend some very quality time with yourself while making art. And I will see you in the next video. Пока-пока!